Hey guys, it's Bailey Ewis Smith from the Joining Me Today podcast, and you're going to be joining me today for Joining me. Yeah. You're going to be joining me today for another episode of this podcast. Once again, I've got fantastic guests lined up for you guys. It's going to be another fantastic interview. I'm going to be presenting to your eyes, your ears, or maybe just your ears if you're listening to this just on audio. Today, I'm actually going to be joined by Nic from Renegade Media Group. I've already done 2 interviews in the past with members of Renegade Media Group, a fantastic reaction YouTube channel, and now I'm going to be interviewing another fantastic member from a fantastic group. See, it all works together. But this episode, though, is going to be slightly different with how it's structured, because usually I would now go into a song recommendation part. But instead, I'm actually, because this video is going to be released around and stuff the beginning of either 2023 or late 2022, depending on when I can get this video out. Knowing my luck, it'll release in March 2024. But anyway, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be doing a sort of, my own I can't think of the name of it. Grammys. I couldn't think of the name of the awards. I was thinking Emmys, Oscars, Grammys. I'm going to be doing my own sort of mini Grammy awards and stuff. I'm going to be presenting to you guys my album of the year, my music video of the year, and my top 3 songs of the year. And also, this section's going to be a bit different from the interview section and stuff, because this is like a longer section at the beginning and stuff like that. Usually I would go seamlessly into my interviews, but this time and stuff, I wanted this section to be separate because it was like such a large section and stuff. I didn't want just, you know what I mean, don't want a poor guest just sitting there and stuff, you know, they'd be happy to do it, but, you know, I want to keep it separate, you know what I mean? It's not nice to have them just sitting there, and I want to sort of have a bit more just focus on this stuff or this section. But anyway, let's go straight into the awards. No more waffling. Let's get straight into the awards, shall we? So first, we're going to have the Album of the Year award. Now, for me, this was a little bit hard to pick, admittedly, because I don't really listen to too many albums as a whole. And stuff, I'm more of a sort of a single song sort of person. And stuff, that's more sort of my jam. I'm more sort of, you know, I like specific songs. Sometimes sort of the more smaller tracks in albums, I can find it a bit like, oh, I'm not really into this, or because they're not as sort of, you know, concentrated on. A lot of them are more just pushed out and stuff. But I did listen to quite a few albums this year, and this was a bit hard to pick, but just one album to me stood out above the rest. I've actually got the album on vinyl, funny enough, and that album is Jack White's Fear of the Dawn. This was such a fantastic album and stuff of just another brilliant sort of musical showcase by the amazingly talented Jack White. If you don't know who Jack White is, there's actually a chance you've heard at least one of his songs. He was a member of a band called the White Stripes, and he like that sort of band made the song Seven Nation Army, which is a very, very famous song, especially in like the football sort of world, like the sports world and all that. In baseball and stuff like that as well. I know he was saying a story with Conan O'Brien, the late night show host. They were saying a story about him being at a baseball game and stuff, and like hearing it when he was sitting next to Jack White and all that. Like, it's really massive in sports and stuff. And this is This is another amazing album and stuff by a very talented artist. It's very sort of like hard rock, sort of electronic rock sort of album. And to me, this album just stands out because, like, many albums, they do just feel like just random songs. I like sort of an album where I feel like I'm taking on a bit of a journey. It doesn't even have to be with the lyrics, just how it feels and stuff. You feel like you're going through this sort of musical like sort of journey. And this album, I think, does that brilliantly. There's some fantastic sort of tracks on here. You've got the main track, Taking Me Back to the first one. You've got Heidi Ho. You've got Into the Twilight. You've got What's the Trick. So many fantastic tracks are on this album, and I would obviously recommend this album, and this album is also going to be my album of the year. It's so good. You guys should definitely check it out. Now on to music video of the year. This one's a bit interesting for me. I had quite a few contenders for this one. For instance, a song called 2am by Foles was a fantastic music video released at the beginning of this year, and for most of this year it was my favourite music video. Some other ones include a song called Honey Brains by good old Royal Blood, just there on my t-shirt. That's from the last album they did. They released a song this year called Honey Brains, and it had a really good music video as well, sort of like black and white style, that sort of thing. There was like a few other videos as well. Dove Cameron's Breakfast, and he said the first one she did, Breakfast was a fantastic one, sort of like a sort of reverse, sort of like gender sort of thing, of like reversing gender roles, sort of in reaction to the whole Roe versus Wade thing and stuff like that. It was a really fantastic video and stuff, and a fantastic song. But my music video of the year is actually going to be a video that only released like at the time of recording this like a week ago or so. I think even shorter than that. It's going to be The News by Paramore, because that music video is so brilliant. That the sort of the camera work and all that, the sort of overall vibe and stuff, the minimalist sort of like attitude sort of the song and stuff, all like the visual effects and all that sort of bit, like the cinematography and all that, and sort of like Hayley Williams stuff in the video and stuff like that. Like she's sort of the main singer of Paramore and stuff. She's sort of playing like two different sort of roles and stuff, two kind of versions of her and stuff like that. And they both look really cool, and they're really like brilliantly represented in the video and stuff. And it's one of those videos you watch and you want to just keep rewatching and stuff like that. And it's with a really, really good song as well, callback song for the band and stuff, a more sort of like rock song as opposed to their more alternative sort of indie sort of stuff that they was doing and stuff in their past, with their past album and stuff. So a nice sort of callback to their early roots, felt a bit more punk rock. That was sort of their early sort of stuff. Absolutely fantastic song, fantastic video. I recommend you guys go check it out. It's really sick. And now we're on to the main event of the Joining Me Today Grammys, I guess. I really wish I could actually give The Weeknd an award and stuff like that, because how the Grammys treated him was quite horrible. But anyway, so let's get into Song of the Year. Now, my number 3 pick for Song of the Year is going to be a song called The Overload by Yard Act. That third pick, the third pick I'm about to go into, got there in the end, is actually not going to be my third pick technically, because I may or may not have swapped what my third choice and sub was going to be, and may or may not have forgotten that the album came out in 2022, but the song actually came out in 2021. So I'll still show the part of me talking about the third pick and stuff. I'll just have it as sort of like, counting sort of when the album released, not just the song as a single. So I'm actually going to make the third track a song called Honey Brains by Royal Blood and stuff. That will actually be my third pick and stuff. Fantastic rock song and stuff by a band that I absolutely love. So yeah, that will be and stuff my third pick and stuff. Sorry about that. On to pass Bailey. Bye. Now, my number 3 pick for Song of the Year is going to be a song called The Overload by Yard Act. That song is a fantastic, fantastic song. I will preface one thing. It's definitely a lot more of a song for more sort of older, mature audiences and stuff. It's a bit more of a sort of a 15 plus, 18 plus song and stuff like that. I like to keep this podcast a bit more sort of that PG-13 sort of 12 rated sort of thing, so just sort of bear that in mind and stuff. But like if you're sort of a certain age, or I don't know, you just don't want to listen to explicit things, whatever and stuff, but it's still like, despite of that, it's still a really good song. So it's got that sort of, it's got the elements of spoken word ish, but sort of done in a more musical way. It's got a very sort of British sort of attitude to it as well, and I really like it. It's sort of picks out and stuff like that a lot of interesting things. It's got really interesting rhymes. It's got a fantastic backing track, a fantastic intro section. It's just a fantastic sort of like indie rock kind of sort of song. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, number 2 on this list is actually going to be another Paramore song, and it's going to be the lead single from the album that this The News is on, and it's going to be This Is Why by Paramore and stuff. A fantastic, fantastic rock song and stuff. I love the little intro section, the chorus and stuff in the song. Very sort of Paramore in terms of it really standing out. It's one you love to sing along to and stuff. Some fantastic sort of guitar work. Nice mixture between sort of like that sort of quiet sound that's still got something to it, like sort of the bit of the sort of oomph to it and stuff, if that makes sense. And then when the chorus and all that comes in, that's when you hear sort of real sort of, like, I can't think of the words, the proper professional terms and stuff, but it really sort of goes for it and stuff there. Absolutely fantastic song. Again, obviously, recommend that song, recommend the Overload by Yard Act, fantastic song. But my song of the year for this year is going to be a song called This Hell by Rina Sawayama. I apologise if I butchered that surname, but that song, absolutely fantastic. It's one of those, I like it when you see pop songs that don't just go the whole usual route and stuff, being very generic and stuff. I feel like we're getting out of that phase, fortunately, in music. Like, this isn't the late 90s, we're not just seeing a bunch of, and early 2000s, we're not just seeing a bunch of sort of boy bands making these sort of rubbish, sort of throwaway cookie cutter songs and stuff like that. We're now, and sort of the early 2010s and stuff like that had a lot of your Katy Perry's and all that. It just felt like a lot of the same thing. But we're now in an age of pop where songs like This Hell and stuff like that, these are pop songs, but they're putting in elements of like really great guitar riffs and stuff like that. They're putting in and stuff like that, really great lyrics and stuff, really caring about sort of what is being spoken about, and it's adding more alternative elements and stuff. Dove Cameron, that I said about earlier and stuff, is another example of that. But yeah, this song is fantastic. It's got fantastic, like I said, guitar riff at the end and stuff. It's straight away gets you pumped straight away and stuff like that. And it has all the sort of the charm and the excellence and stuff like that of like what a female pop song sort of can have and stuff. And it has and stuff like that, a really good underlying message and stuff about it, about sort of and it does it in a sort of playful way, but of sort of being yourself, not caring about criticisms and stuff like that, of stuff like your homosexuality and all that, just being sort of free and just being like, this is me, this is who I am, you're going to criticise me, whatever, I'm going to do what I want and stuff like that. And I really like that, the sort of confidence and stuff that comes out in the song, and being a pop song and actually having a powerful message, and you feel it, and it's done in a very pop sort of playful way and stuff, and with some fantastic backing sort of sounds and all that. And some quite good wordplay, I'd say, as well, and stuff like that. Just fantastic lyrics and stuff. Just a fantastic song. So that is going to be my song of the year, and that is the Bailey Grammys. I guess they're joining me today, podcast Grammys and stuff. But anyway, now that is all done out of the way and stuff, I'm now going to be zooming you guys, doing that to get you guys to the interview section. It's like some really weird, like Gordon Ramsay stuff. Like I'm chopping onions and making strange TikToks. But anyway, yes. So I'm now going to be taking you guys to the interview section with Nic from Renegade Media Group. I hope you guys enjoy the interview. Hello guys, and welcome to now the interview portion of this episode of the Joining Me Today podcast. Once again, I've got a fantastic guest with me. I've actually got another member of the Renegade Media Group YouTube channel, another amazing member. Today I'm going to be joined by Nic from Renegade Media Group. How you doing, sir? What's up?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you, man?
I'm doing all good. But I'm tired and stuff, but I'm doing good. I'm getting there. I
feel you.
Red Bull supplied myself. I'm ready. So
I got the Monster, not sponsored.
Yeah. You got to get that Monster sponsorship soon. You've got to be like, hey, sponsor Renegades.
I really don't know where the guy is that does the sponsorships for Monster, but I drink so many of them. He should have hit me up by now. So.
But then again, and also if they sponsor you, they'd be a much better sponsor, because I saw that game that they sponsored. They sponsored some BMX game like 4 years ago, and it was terrible. So you'd be something good promoting.
I appreciate that. Oh, and speak of the devil, I was talking about this right before we started recording. furry lad that is trying to say hi.
We got a second guest now.
This is Vega.
Ah, where's Vega's
And he is my chunky furry kitty.
Where's Vega's claws? Only going to be street fighting Balrog or something?
Oh, he's actually he's got his claws trimmed. He's actually named after Vega from Doom 2016.
Oh wow, really?
The AI, yeah. So somebody pointed out, is like, oh, he could be Street Fighter too. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about Street Fighter Vega. I was like, but
when I first
he's got
heard
a
that was your cat's
multifaceted
name,
video game tribute name.
when I first heard that was your cat's name, I genuinely thought it was Street Fighter. Actually, that was my first instinct.
Yeah, it's actually Doom.
Wow,
He's probably going to be asking for food off and on throughout the podcast because that's just how he do.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine with me. So anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna then jump straight in and stuff with the questions. Now, usually the first questions I like to do with these episodes and stuff, like proven by the other episodes, and proven by the first section and stuff, the introductory section before this podcast, like before this interview part and stuff, I like to do song recommendations and stuff. I actually did my own sort of Grammy awards and stuff right before this interview section, the song of the year and stuff for me was a song called This Hell by Rina Sawayama. So that was my sort of song recommendation for this episode. But now I'd like to hear, what would your song recommendation be, and preferably one from this year?
Oh, that is a hard question. I'm going to have to open Spotify real fast. So I think from this past year, let's see what actually came out. I listen to so much stuff. Let's do date added.
Just looking at the Spotify app. Like.
Yeah. It's so hard to tell because sometimes I listen to stuff that Spotify recommends and it's like, yo, this is a cool new song. When did this come out? 1980. Huh? I got you. Because they were my number one artist, and they definitely said on their artist to fan video that they released it this year. So Unprocessed, they are a gent band, and they released an album called Gold this year.
Oh, nice.
And on that album is a song called, if I can remember which one it is, Closer. So Closer is probably my number one. It literally hit my Spotify Wrapped number one song for the year.
So it's the top,
it's good stuff. Their guitarist is just one of those guitarists that plays stuff that you're like, I didn't know you could do that on a guitar. So kind of like the Do, but falling into like the Polyphia kind of vein of things. Plus, instead of instrumental, they have vocals, so they're good stuff. I definitely recommend checking out Unprocessed, and Closer is a good starting song for sure.
Yeah, so that sounds like a pretty good recommendation stuff to me and stuff. You guys should go definitely check that out. The funny thing is that I'm actually not a Spotify user. I'm actually I don't have any Apple products, but yet I use Apple Music. That's my service of choice. It was just a case of I got a free trial and stuff late last year, and I just liked the user interface and all that. Spotify was starting to really annoy me and stuff, and I tried with Amazon Music and stuff. I used it a bit more this year, and I just couldn't really stand using it. I could pretty
much directly blame Spotify for me on Sony. It's their fault because that was what they pushed with the PlayStation 4 for like 6 months or so.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I'm on the PlayStation 4 and we need some music for like hanging out with friends right now. So let's just install Spotify. And then I was like, oh, I could listen to it without commercials if I pay $9 a month. I was like, yep, sold.
All right. You can have the fantastic.
And ever since then, I was like, yeah, I don't need my iPod because I got the Spotify now. So
I have a PS4.
This is kind of just what I go with.
Well, the funny thing is that I had an interesting
Not
story.
Not sponsored again, by the way.
I actually had an interesting story with Spotify on my PS4 where it just decided one day I'm not going to work anymore, and I couldn't download it for 3 years, and I had to basically restart my system near enough from scratch. I basically had to do a whole firmware reboot just to get my Spotify back. And like I said, I was like, I just can't with anymore. So I don't even use it anyway. So I just went to Apple Music. My top song...
Yeah, that'll make you pick something else for sure.
My top song is actually a song from last year, funny enough. It's a song called, another recommendation real quick, Mamma Mia by Maneskin. Very cool song. That was a song that just released end of last year. So fortunately, no 2022 songs for me. But anyway,
I'm probably going to get the ABBA version if I try to search for that, aren't I? Yes, mostly ABBA. Mamma Mia, here we go again. Oh no, I just got your podcast copyright struck.
So we're gonna now sort of go now into the more proper questions. I didn't just get you on here, don't worry, just talk about music recommendations. But
oh dude, even if you did, I'm fine with that. I love music.
4-hour podcast of just like music. I'd actually be pretty sick.
I could do it. I could do it.
But anyway, yeah, so I now want to get into sort of like the main questions of the podcast. The first one I want to jump into and stuff is obviously you're part of the Renegade Media Group YouTube channel. You know, it's a like very sort of big channel and stuff, has had over 200 million views and stuff, created by, you know, your fantastic friend and stuff, Nate, who's been on the podcast as well. Sort of, how did you like first meet sort of Nate and stuff though, and like sort of what was your first sort of introduction to the Renegade fold there?
So I was in a band called Altergrave, and we played a show at a local venue, Hideaway, that is kind of the... it's one of two places that, if you think of metal bands that play locally, think of around here. And whenever we went to play that show, Nate was there, and he was recording for another band we played the podcast with. And so Nate was doing a live stream for that show. And he was like, hey, like, we can live stream your set too, if you'd like us to. And we're like, absolutely, dude. Like, yeah, put us on there. Like, we have no problem with that. And pretty much from there, it was, I subscribed immediately to his channel because I wanted to see what people were saying about the show while I was in there. And so whenever I got back home later after that show, I was just kind of like keeping an eye on subscriptions. And I noticed that Nate did live streams for video games as well, alongside you know, what he was doing with the music scene and everything. And I was kind of like, hey man, like it's Nick from Altergrave, like I see you guys play video games for live streams and you guys have an audience, just so you know, like I've always wanted to get into that kind of thing. Like, what would one have to do to put in like an application to be part of like the Renegades? Like, and him and Ben at the time were the ones on the stream, and they were like, yeah man, just come on over. And I was like, for real? And they were like, yeah, like we know you're friends with Quinn. And I was like, yeah, I'm friends with Quinn. I kicked Quinn at Smash Brothers one time. Basically, like from there, I was just like, yeah, just let me know a time. And I showed up at their place, and then I was like, oh, you guys have like a whole YouTube channel running here. And I was like, yeah, man, like I would totally love to get in on doing stuff like this. So they had me do a live stream of Far Cry 5. And then when that went well, they had me get on the reaction videos. And then when that went pretty well, after an amount of time, Nate was like, man, I've been trying to get somebody to edit videos for me for a long time. And I was like, teach me, sensei. I will edit videos for you. And he was like, absolutely. And so now I've been the editor for Renegade Media Group for about 2 years.
Nice.
And it's pretty much just gone from there. I've just been with the channel and doing what I can to help out.
Yeah, and I got to say and stuff like that, fantastic work and stuff like that on the videos, you know what I mean? Like, what I've always liked and stuff about your guys' channel is a lot of the reaction space and stuff, a lot of it has quite tacky content and stuff. A lot of it is very just like, you know, you can tell it's just like stock sort of the like video effects and stuff, like overlays. It's very like just cobbled together and stuff. But always like with you guys, it's always very professional and stuff. You know what I mean? Even like the way you sort of introduce it and stuff, and sort of the like Patreon section and all. It's very like professionally done. I always like that with you guys and stuff. And obviously, you know, kudos to you and stuff, and Nate and stuff, for the work you've put into the channel. You know,
the funny thing is, the thing I do the most is probably the thing no one will ever notice, and that is cutting out the amount of times that we were sitting there talking, and we're like, yes, this, and I cut that and it's gone.
But that's the golden content. I want to watch a 10-hour compilation of Nate going, That's all I want in my life.
I did make a little breathing compilation course once. It was like the Macho Man Randy Savage, like the like I did do that one time, so I can send you that clip.
So yeah, that's a pretty sick enough story of how you met Nate, and so it's quite a nice story actually. It was all through like, you know, him sort of live streaming and stuff, one of your sets and all that, and sort of from there it kind of formed a sort of friendship from there. That sounds pretty sick. What was the first video and stuff you were like on screen for?
That I cannot actually remember.
Oh.
Like I don't know. I just went downstairs to their recording studio for the videos, like pretty much after I had finished a Far Cry 5 live stream at one point. And I can't actually remember what the first thing we watched was, to be honest. But I know like one of the first shows I got on with him for was probably Rick and Morty, because he was like, "Yeah, we're in the middle of watching Rick and Morty with Micah," and I was like, "Dude, I love Rick and Morty." I was like, "That's the one thing that like I will definitely watch over and over again. Put me on that." And he was like, "All right." So I got on with the Rick and Morty. Yeah, I started. The best thing I can remember is I started out upstairs in their live stream room, and I was playing Far Cry 5. But as for the very first video, like I'll have to leave that up to the fans to go see if they can Sherlock Holmes, which one that was. I do not remember. I have a bad memory, to be honest.
I'll try and like look and stuff when I'm in post-production. I'll try to have a look. I'm usually good with that sort of stuff, but if I can't find stuff, somebody else might be able to know. They might remember. So
there's always a fan that will find it for you if you cannot. So.
The fan that like knows that and knows like your blood type and all that, like knows a bit too much information.
Yeah, they'll be like, "Your blood type's this," and I'll be like, "I didn't even know that, man. What the hell?"
Oh, it reminds me of like all those stories you hear about, you know, like the you know, like the sort of the sort of singers and stuff like that. They'll have those fan bases, you know, the really dedicated ones. K-pop's like the big thing at the moment, where you know, like see, they know like too much information. Like they know like their height and like what they have for breakfast every morning and what their mum's middle name is, and it's like, how do you know all this stuff? It's like, what? And why do you want to know that? It's so weird. Like, it's kind of scary. Like, I see with like YouTubers as well.
They're sitting at home by themselves and they're like, "What was the password for this site that I entered?" And the fan just pops out beside them and it was like, "It was this." And they're like, "Oh, thank you. Wait." Wait, what?
Yeah, it scares me also with sort of like YouTube and all that as well, like because we've seen so many incidences of fans where they go too far and all that in it, you know, at conventions and stuff. Like I heard this one story one time of I don't think and stuff the person who said the story and stuff said the YouTuber name. I could be wrong with that. But I'd heard this story and stuff that basically this fan went to this like meet and greet and stuff. I think it was over here and stuff. They were like, "Oh, so here's cupcake, you know, I got a cupcake for you and stuff, like a nice treat and stuff." The YouTuber was like, "Oh, thanks." They went to bite into it later and stuff, or their friend asked them to check it or something. They then found a razor blade in there, and this same person had been giving out cupcakes to all these people all day. And it was, I think that even started a lot of YouTubers to go, "Yeah, I'm not accepting food anymore." And so I heard that story and I was like, "Oh my God, that scares me so much if I ever get that famous." Because I couldn't.
Or you just have to be like me and like mutilate your food before you start getting into it, you know? It's like, "Oh, just gonna cut into this just to see, just to be sure, you know." It's all right, it looks good. It doesn't smell like poison, as far as I can tell. If it is poison, I guess it's not my problem anymore.
I got the best part.
It looks delicious, so I'm willing to take the sacrifice.
Sacrifice for the sake of food. I love it. That's something I would do. So sort of on that note, funny enough, sort of you're like we were saying before and stuff, you're part of this like big channel and stuff like that, and you have you know, fans and stuff that sort of like to watch you, Nate and stuff, like Chad and all that, watch all these videos and stuff, and a lot of people and stuff like really sort of attach to you guys and stuff, they admire you. how do you feel about sort of having people say stuff to you like, oh, you're famous, oh, you know, you're my favorite YouTuber, like part of this YouTube group? Like, how does it feel? Or even stuff like this, how does it feel doing podcasts and all this sort of thing? Like, how does it feel like?
It is still super surreal to me, to be honest. I have had people on multiple occasions pop into our Discord and be like, "Is that the real Nick?" And I'm like, "Hi, yes, it's me." Like, I'm just such an awkward person, like an introverted person, that like people just coming and be like, "Oh, it's you," and I'm just like, "Yeah, yes, it is." Like, you know, I try to be outroverted or extroverted enough, like in spirit, to at least like say hi to everybody and stuff and be nice to everyone. That like I really appreciate it. It's just like, to be honest, like you still sit here during the day and like that doesn't cross your mind that it's like, oh, I'm on a channel and a lot of people watch me and know who I am. I kind of forget about it a lot of the times. And then we sit down to do the videos, and I'm like, oh, of course, like there's so many people that are supporting us, and like these people are amazing. Like they're the real like MVPs here, because without all those people who are actually interested in what we have to say and what we're doing at any given time, like obviously, what's the point in us even bothering to do it? So, but yeah, it's definitely it's an interesting thing, like, because I kind of stepped into something that I had already kind of gained steam, you know, and sort of just started helping it along. And so I was sort of tossed into the river, and it was sink or swim, so to speak, in terms of like people just being like, oh, it's you. And I'm just like, oh, wow. Like people recognize me all of a sudden from the internet, and I've never had that happen before. But yeah, it's just, like, I mean, it's mostly just a thing of like every time it happens, I'm just like, dude, like, for real, like you guys think that I'm the famous person, but like you're the cool person.
Yeah, for me, and so if I was ever put in that position, I think I would find it a bit like sort of overwhelming. Of like, oh my god, like because obviously when you're in your own house, or whatever, and stuff, you're not having fans like sort of, you know, come into your kitchen and be like, oh, great breakfast, like Nick, like, you know what I mean? You're not surrounded.
Yeah. So everybody's like, you should do cooking videos, like stuff you cook, and I'm like, man, I like barely know how to cook. I was like, I got like my video is gonna be a replication of Gordon Ramsay's video, because I just follow step by step what he told me to do. So.
Where's the milk? Why? Need it for the cereals.
Now the secret to good scrambled eggs is to not overcook them. I'm just literally like, that's what's going through my head every time I make scrambled eggs now. It's just Gordon Ramsay's sage advice, you know. I don't have a single thought of my own when I make scrambled eggs other than do what Gordon Ramsay told you to, Nick.
I also find it funny as well that I'm British, yet you can do a better Gordon Ramsay accent than I can.
I've been actually doing like British accents with my friends. I don't know why, just for fun, I guess. Like since we were like in Boy Scouts, like as kids, like we would just have fun, just being like, "Oh yeah, yeah." It's like governor, yeah, no, like the police. Can I have some more? Has always cracked me up. The little meme of the poor British kid that's just like, please, may I have some more?
Please, sir, may I have some more?
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay's like, donkey.
Yeah, no.
What are you? An idiot sandwich. That's exactly right.
I actually saw this video and stuff where he went to like a couple of like drive-throughs and stuff like that to sort of like do a whole thing of like criticizing it. So I think it was like for his TikTok or some other like YouTube thing. And like he would actually like go up and stuff when they served him the food, he'd check it there and he'd be like, what is this? This is disgusting. Just like throw it on the floor, like actually to him. And he actually got one guy and stuff to be like, come in. He got like a bacon sort of bap and stuff like that. So he got these 2 bits of like bread and stuff like that, like roll, whatever. And he just like went like that and did the whole "you're an idiot" sandwich bit. It was fantastic. It was a great video.
The fact that he's going through drive-thrus and yelling at them, it's just like, sir, I work at a drive-thru. What do you actually expect from me? I get paid minimum wage for this. Please, sir. I know you're a famous 5-star chef. Please, sir.
It's funny, he's not even undercover. He's just going as him, so he knows he'll get recognised. He's just doing it anyway. It's fantastic.
If Gordon, like I saw a meme recently, it's like Gordon Ramsay walks into my minimum wage cooking job, pretty much, and it's just like the frowny face, you know.
I do not.
And I'm just like, dude, I would totally walk up and shake his hand and be like, Gordon, I love everything you do. I love all of your shows. They're great. But I hate to tell you, but I no longer am the cook here, so you can talk to someone else because I quit because I get paid minimum wage, and that's not enough to go under your rigorous regimen for becoming a better cook. I hate to tell you.
Yeah, praise be to Gordon Ramsay, the ultimate chef. That's what we all wish we could be in. So, unfortunately and stuff, to go on a bit more of a sadder note and stuff, I hate to do it and stuff, but it's something I would like to while we're on the topic of the channel and stuff. Sort of unfortunately and stuff, the Renegade Media Group YouTube channel and stuff has just recently and stuff got a second strike and stuff like that, a second community guideline strike and stuff on the channel. You guys got one, I know, a few months back, and you've now had a second one, and now it's a 2-week ban and stuff. And like the whole situation around it is a very interesting situation, to say the least. So what are your sort of...
I would say frustrating. It's a frustrating situation.
What would you say are sort of your feelings on the situation and stuff, and sort of, if you can and stuff like that, give like sort of what details can you give about sort of basically what went down?
So essentially, YouTube runs all of these systems of checking things. It's pretty obvious by bots. They don't have people that they hire that they're like, your job is to sit here all day and browse every video on YouTube and look for stuff that's against our rules. So instead, they put I think Nate said, like, actually literally a couple $1 billion into making this AI that sits there all day, watches YouTube videos, and looks for stuff that it thinks is against the rules. And a lot of the times, the stuff that it comes up with is less than accurate. And so a couple months ago, we had a video that was actually made by one of our friends and fans, Logan, that was a try not to laugh specifically for us. And it had a clip in it of a guy who was joking about chloroform and pretending to pass out and stuff. And they decided that constituted dangerous activity. And so we got a first community guidelines strike for that, and we weren't able to upload for a week. And Nate was understandably very frustrated about that. I was very frustrated about that, but we just kind of went about our business and went on. And then a couple days ago, we get a sudden notification that now we have one for an Nic Owen Try Not to Laugh challenge from like a couple of years ago. And at this point, it's just kind of like, it feels like these AI kind of are like, oh, I found one on this channel. So now I'm going to just sort of hover around this channel and see what else I can kind of like be like, close enough. I'll say that's against the rules and give us another one. And so now we're down for 2 weeks on 2 of the biggest weeks of the year. Basically, the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas are actually huge times of the year for people to get views and income from YouTube. And they've completely told us to sit down and just not upload anything for 2 weeks. And we've put in appeals. We've tried talking to them directly on Twitter, and they're just like, nothing we could do. And it's super, super frustrating. Like, it is so... It doesn't make sense. Because they're basically taking a channel that has been around for years, right? And has towed the line in terms of rules. And they're pretty much saying that, oh, well, we found this thing and a thing that you did a while ago, and we think that it would be the best decision for us to be like, you can't put anything up or do anything new for 2 weeks now. Not to mention, you guys have to sit there and basically sweat worrying that if we decide we found something else, that you'll just be gone. Because 3 strikes and you're out. And so it's pretty much like a situation where we can't really do anything but sit here and just kind of pray and hope that they change their mind. Like, Nate can argue with them on Twitter, but until you get the right person that actually decides that there's something they can do to alleviate the situation, it's a ridiculous situation. And like we've talked about it like ad nauseum on stuff we've recorded after the fact that nobody's seen yet because it can't upload. But it's pretty much like, why does YouTube insist on this being the system? Because it's clear, like, these rules are in place to keep channels from starting and just uploading problematic things, right? And we're a channel that's been around for quite some time. We make things that YouTube can run ads on, and therefore YouTube makes money from ads that then they deal out paychecks to everyone from. And by telling us that we're just shut down for 2 weeks, they didn't just shut us down, they shut down a source of revenue for themselves for 2 weeks. And we don't understand why this is the way they choose to handle things, rather than just sending us like a notification being like, hey, we're holding this video back for X amount of time because we found something that's problematic in the video. Could you please delete that part of the video? But that's how they choose to go about things. And it's just frustrating, man. Like, that's the number one word I can think of to say for it, is frustrating. I think they need a better system.
Oh, yeah,
and I don't think a better system is going to come about until enough people literally get screwed over by the current system that's in place and start yelling loud enough for them to finally listen, if even that. But yeah, it sucks, man. It's not cool. Like, and I really hope that we're basically sitting here with our fingers crossed, like, let us get to January so one of them falls off and we're no longer in the really like, we're no longer like standing right on the edge, like looking over at the pit we could fall into, which is channel deletion, basically. At least we get to back up in January to like, yeah, we're not in the great spot, but at least we're not over there. So pretty much we're just all sitting here with our fingers crossed right now. Or maybe someone at YouTube will take pity on us and be like, that was obviously not something that needed to happen. We can undo that for you. Like, please, YouTube. Like, if anybody from YouTube watches this, please, man, come on. Please.
Yeah, the current system is like an absolute joke. Like, they say it's one thing. They say like, oh, we've put this in place and stuff to stop, sort of heinous sort of videos, videos we don't want on there. And it definitely has done that sort of to an extent. But then in a lot of ways it hasn't done that. And then the people that haven't done anything wrong have then been attacked. Because stuff like a robot can't tell stuff like the difference between a joke and what's not a joke. But then you have like music videos and stuff that can then get away with that because they have connections at YouTube or because this person and stuff's got this management and then it becomes a whole political kind of thing and it becomes ridiculous. And the AI system itself, just in my experience and from what I've seen, just does not work. I actually saw and stuff this story one time, and so this is a genuine true story. I could not believe this, and I really wish it got more traction. Basically, YouTube was giving out limited to no ads, giving that elusive yellow dollar symbol to videos that literally just said the word gay. Not in a derogatory way, they just said the word. So if somebody said something like, in this video and stuff like that, I finally feel comfortable to come out as gay. That person's video would then be demonetized because they said the word gay. If they were to say, for some reason as a joke, I'm going to come out as straight, that would not get demonetized. Somebody actually did an experiment. They basically got a whole bunch of words and stuff. All they did was say the word in that video. They were a channel that was like monetized, but they just sort of privated all the videos. They said the only ones that were getting demonetized and stuff were videos that were about homosexuality, transsexuality. But when you used the straight versions of those words, it was totally fine and stuff. Like, literally, it was like as straight as like heterosexual fine, homosexual demonetized. Like, that's how like sort of right it was. And it meant that gay creators and stuff, basically, if let's say you did, I don't know, like sort of gay sort of like content and stuff, like sort of lesbian sort of like LGBT content, you covered, there's some like Pink News, for instance, I know is a sort of news sort of site. They cover more sort of like LGBT stuff and stuff like that. They would literally just have demonetized, which is insane because they're not doing anything wrong. But then YouTube's like, oh, we love Pride and we support them. And it's like, well, do you? Because this is what your system is doing to people. The CEO of YouTube herself was questioned about it. She actually got defensive and said, yeah, that's not true. She actually got defensive. I can't remember who interviewed. I think it was either Anthony Padilla or it was Matt Pat from Game Theory. One of the two had an interview with her. I want to say it's Anthony Padilla. And they said, no, there's evidence. And she just got on the defense and got a little bit sort of like, it was like a bit on the attack. It was really unnecessary. And it just reminded me of that, of the YouTube system, man. It's absolutely broken. Like, I feel so sorry for you guys to be sort of on that cliff edge, basically. I know I couldn't deal with it. Oh, it's just terrible.
And like you were saying, like people who are bigger creators literally get YouTube reps. Yeah. And so they have someone from YouTube that they can send an email to that is the person who's basically helping their channel not have these problems.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit irksome to me that, like, just because we haven't quite hit like 1 million subs yet and therefore don't have our own YouTube rep, that we're sort of just thrown under the bus. And whenever their bot decides to go haywire, we just kind of have to grin and bear it. And I feel like there's better things they could do with the system overall. And I feel like having a system that's pretty much just like, if our bot decides you're bad, then we're just going to smite you. Like, it's just kind of not great. Like, a bot should be forwarding something through to real people that's like, hey, this might be bad. Whereas the real people sit there behind the desk and go, is this bad? Yes, this is bad. Or is this bad? No, that's not actually bad. The bot's just wrong on that. And it's just absurd to me that it's a system where literal robots get to come, like, you know, just smack us upside the head and impose their will on us, pretty much. It's literally Terminator. Like, it's just, we're not getting killed by them, you know. So, it's ridiculous. I feel like they need to do they need some kind of rework, and I hope that they will see that at some point.
To be honest, I think the company needs a restructure. I think full stop. I think ever since Google's taken over and the state it's in now, I just think it's become like, it's nowhere near where it used to be and stuff like that. And I think there needs to be a big shift and stuff, because now TikTok's now sort of took a lot of YouTube's fame. They need to look at that and go, okay, I think we need to fix things here. Streamers are moving to Twitch, or creators are moving to TikTok and other places. We've got to restructure, but I just don't think they will, to be honest. And that's the saddest part. It's the saddest part about the situation.
Every platform has their problems, and it's just sad how it seems like the creators on the platforms that work for them can point out these problems and just be like, yeah, like, if you just fix this, you'd be in a good spot. And yeah, every platform seems to just kind of ignore that.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Or create more problems.
Like, if they just listen to the creators a little bit more, like, I feel like all of these platforms could be fantastic, and they just kind of choose to just do what they feel like. Instead, that doesn't seem to actually ever listen to people who actually work for them.
Yeah, that's the sad reality of the situation. But hopefully and stuff, you guys and stuff do get to January and stuff like that. You know what I mean? We wouldn't want to see such a great channel, you know what I mean, that you're on full, you know what I mean? Especially where Jake Paul's channel and people like that are still online. It'd be so unfair to think that somebody like your channel goes. Yeah.
I mean, just be it known, like, if something happens to the current channel, like, if you're a current subscriber to Renegade Media Group and you hop on one day and it just isn't there, you probably know what happened. And if you search, there's probably going to be some sort of backup. Like, we're not going to give up because that happens. Like, we'll still be around. So the best thing you could probably do, actually, is follow our gaming channel, Renegade Gaming, because if something happens to the main channel, we'll probably make a little announcement there with whatever backup we decide to go with. So we're not going to quit if that happens. So if you guys don't want to quit watching just because that happens, just keep an eye out. And, like, I'm sure you'll be able to find the place that we choose to continue after YouTube decides to try to completely stop us, but we refuse YouTube. We will not stop.
You can never stop the Renegade.
Yeah, we have things to say. We have things to say, and we will not be silenced.
We have jontron videos to watch. You will not stop us.
Exactly. We have more internet history to enjoy, and damned be to YouTube if you try and stop us.
So now and so I want to go, because, you know what I mean, obviously we've got through that now. I want to go to something a bit more happy now. We've gone through the sad, you know what I mean, we're bringing things back up now, sort of talk about more things. And now I want to move a little bit more sort of away from the YouTube space. And I'd like to, actually, you were speaking about your love of gaming and stuff earlier and stuff, and I'd love you, if you could and stuff, to sort of just like discussing stuff like that. What was your experiences with like gaming growing up, and sort of what's your experiences sort of been like over the years with like gaming?
So gaming's my number one hobby. It started when I was about 3 years old, actually. My cousin Josh had a Nintendo Entertainment System. And I went over and played video games at his house with him, and he had just gotten a hold of both a Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. And he was pretty much like, hey, you know what, man? Like, I don't really need the Nintendo Entertainment System anymore. Why don't you take it? And he gave me that with Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt, a couple other games. And ever since then, I've pretty much been all into playing video games. I grew up to my age when I first needed to get a job, and my mom was like, you need to put in applications everywhere. Like, don't just settle like for putting in an application one place. And I was like, I'm going to work at GameStop. I was like, I refuse to work at Taco Bell when I could be working at GameStop. And I did exactly that. I finally got hired on for holiday season when I was around 16 at GameStop. And so sold video games to people for about 4 years from there. And then the guy from the music store downstairs in the same mall came and talked to me one day, and he was like, you know, I really, really don't care at all about video games. So I need someone who does to come downstairs and be the guy who cares about video games. And I was like, will you pay me more than minimum wage? And he was like, absolutely. And I was like, then I'm down. So I worked at a music store for 6 more years, being the expert on the few video games that they sold. And just, man, like, other people read books, like, and I love listening to people talk about the books they've read. Other people are movie buffs, so I love listening to them talk about the movies they've seen and stuff. But for me, I love books, I love movies, but nowhere close to video games. It's just the thing that I feel like I've had the most experiences on, that you can't just go out of your house, out of your front door, and experience all the time. It's pretty much my escapism. It's, you know, it's stuff that gives me inspiration to do other stuff, and I probably do it too much, to be honest, but I freaking love it, man. And like I have a whole backlog of games that I'm still planning to get to, and I'm just like, if I can beat all these games before I die, but I'm always adding stuff to them as it comes out too, so it's never getting any smaller.
But yeah, oh, the backlog problem. So many people say about that. Like, and they say about that, oh, it'll be a Steam sale. There'll be like 5 games that they'll just never play. Like, oh, the first world problems of gamers, man. Like, it should be like, there should be charities for it and stuff. It's a big problem. We gotta fix it.
Yeah, I had to use some self-restraint on the previous Steam sale because I looked at my wish list and I was like, the whole top half of my wish list is on sale. I was like, I'm just gonna buy the top 2 that are on there. One of them's $5, so I can justify that to myself.
Fortunately,
it ended up being Vampire Survivor, so it ended up being very worth it.
Fortunately, my computer is barely capable and stuff of running any game, so luckily I can't buy any Steam games, so that's my way of restraining it.
Fair enough. Even then, before I got to PC gaming, I was always cruising the game stores looking for stuff to play on console as well. So I started out with NES, ended up on SNES, and then N64, and then around middle school, after the PlayStation 1 had been out for a while, I was like, you know the current system's a PlayStation 2, but I just really want to play Final Fantasy, and so I got PlayStation 2 to play Final Fantasy on. And then Final Fantasy X came out shortly after that, and I was like, yes! And then I ended up buying a 360 because someone pressured me into it while I worked at the game store. And they were like, you need to play Gears of War with me. And I was just like, played Gears of War on the demo kiosk after we closed one night and was just like, oh yeah, I need to play Gears of War with you. And then from there, I ended up getting pressured back to the PlayStation side by my manager at the GameStop that I moved to after a while. It was just like PlayStation's where it's at, man. Xbox got it wrong right now. You don't want a red ring of death. And I was like, you're right. I don't want a red ring of death. And so I got a PS3, stayed with PS4, ended up getting a PS5. But at some point, like a couple of years ago, I was watching people on YouTube and they're just like, dude, PC gaming, man. And I'm just like, you know what? They're right. So I still play consoles for the exclusives and stuff, but I've mostly just, once you finally get you a PC built, like being able to go in and just tweak all your settings and have the option to go grab mods, like literally just like I can have this mod that can make me so I can have PlayStation controller buttons on the game instead of Xbox controller buttons if I really want to play it with a PlayStation controller. Like, you can get mods that trick you into thinking you're still playing on console. You can do whatever, man. Like, it's pretty great.
And that's the great thing with like PC as well. I know that like for games like Skyrim and all that, up until recently, it's what made those games amazing, having mods. You know, you can be Mario and doing Phosphor and stuff like that, and
they're still making mods for Skyrim that are just like, you know, whole new games almost that you can play within it. It's insane, man.
And let's hope that Bethesda never ever do something where they get people to pay for mods, because they would never do that. But anyway.
Yeah, they totally didn't try that at one point, and everybody was like, screw you, Bethesda.
I remember and stuff like that when I watched when they revealed that. And it was like, I was sort of confused as to, because I wasn't really into more of the Bethesda experiences. Admittedly, I've only played probably about an hour of Fallout 4, and I played like 10 minutes of Elder Scrolls 2, funny enough. I saw that they were giving it away for free, and so you can still download it now for free. And I was like, oh, I'm into like retro games, and I heard some interesting things about it. So I thought, oh, I'll just try it out, a bit of fun in it, sort of. But that's my own experience. But I still watched the Bethesda and stuff like that, all their conferences for E3. And I remember watching them talk about this, and it's like, you can't believe what you're hearing. You're like, you're actually trying this, and you think people are gonna like it. Like, of course they're not gonna like it. It's like coming in, destroying someone's desk, and being like, that'll be $5.99, and expecting them to go, well, okay then. It's like, what?
It's like, do you guys not have phones?
Oh, the Diablo. Oh, I have never cringed so much at a moment in my life. Man, this thing about that Diablo's Immortal situation is like, what did they think people were gonna go? Oh yeah, true, I do have a phone. I'm sorry, and like of course they're just gonna get more angry. That's why they're moaning.
It's like, that's not the point. I don't want to play it on my phone.
It's like people like getting aggravated and stuff at like a joke a comedian does on stage, and like they don't read the room and they just double down, and it's like, no, you don't double down. You read the room and you go, oh, hang on a minute, but let's try and recover this. Let's say something like, this doesn't mean console Diablo, and you know what I mean, Diablo 4's not on the way, because they must have been developing it, because the fourth one's coming out. So I don't know why they didn't just say, that one's coming out, this is iPhone experience to get people in. Say something to get people on board with it. Don't double down and have a go at the fans. It's silly.
Right. It's like, you could have probably been like, oh yeah, and so this one will also only be coming, as far as we have planned so far, to iPhone and Android. And then the whole room goes, boo. And then you go, but I guess we'll have to look into maybe like fixing that to like coming out on something else as well. And then everybody would be like, yeah. Like, do you guys not have phones? Like, everybody's like, okay, screw you too, dude. Like, what the hell?
Oh, good old Bethesda. Sorry, not Bethesda. Good old Blizzard and stuff.
Yeah,
They're totally good company apart from that. Totally morally fantastic, and have never done anything wrong. So anyway.
Oh, right. Absolutely. They didn't have to change any characters' names because they happened to find out that the characters were named after people who did heinous things while working for the company.
And they totally wasn't more misogynistic than a group of 50-year-old men in a pub. But anyway. Oh, that situation.
Needless to say, I don't play Overwatch anymore.
Have you played Overwatch 2, by the way? Have you tried that out yet? Or are you just anti-Blizzard? Like, yeah, no, fair enough then.
Nah. I'm currently sitting here being like, if enough people say that the new World of Warcraft expansion is where it's at, because they have this pattern. They go one really good one, and then they go two mediocre ones, and they go another really good one. They're on the one that it should be really good. So if enough people say that's good, I might get back into World of Warcraft. And then I'm also watching Diablo 4, and I'm like, if it's good, I might get back in Diablo. But Blizzard has to re-earn my trust in some ways because I just not all about them at the moment at all.
Yeah, to me, like that's why Microsoft have really got to buy them. They won't restructure themselves. They need to be bought out. I know people will say about anti-competitive, and that's its whole argument. No, even if it's not Microsoft, really, who has the money to buy them out? Someone's got to buy them out ultimately because they can't stand on their own. You know what I mean? Like they would have just kept Bobby Kotick and stuff, the CEO, at the top. You can't have a company run like that. Especially when you're making like all these games, especially like games for kids. Like Overwatch is still a kid's game. It's not right to have it made by these like, you know, people that shouldn't still be there. They got to be bought out. Even if it's Microsoft, it has to be Apple. Someone will have to buy them out. It's of 100%.
Yeah. For sure.
So sorry, we got back on a negative, I guess, again and stuff. But obviously,
it's all good.
And stuff. Sort of on the whole thing of sort of experiences and stuff growing up and stuff. I also know that you're a big music fan and stuff, and I know that you're part of your own band and stuff, as you mentioned earlier and stuff. So I'd really like to know what were your experiences with music and stuff growing up, and how did your sort of band like get started?
Well, I'm actually currently in between bands. Altergrave has decided that we're probably on kind of a indefinite hiatus at the moment, and mostly that's because there are like 5 people who live in this area that play drums in a metal style, and they're all in like 3 bands already. And we just don't have anybody who can really play drums right now. And but we are actually working on a new metal project that hopefully will start coming to fruition here soon with Nate and Jacob from the Renegades and some other friends. So hopefully that'll be a new thing we start getting. Oh, they basically have already written 2 full songs, like, and we just have to start getting them recorded and maybe put them out there. But my music love actually didn't start until I was in middle school. I pretty much lived up until that point just kind of listening to whatever my parents would put on the radio when I was riding around in the car with them and stuff, and never really learned band names or anything like that. But in middle school, I had a buddy named Wade that was like, "Hey, you ever listen to Blink-182?" And I was like, "No, I actually haven't." And he was like, "Well, listen to this." And he showed me some Blink-182 songs, and I was like, "I like this, man." Like, and so he got me into Blink-182. And then from there, it was kind of a finding things that the internet at the time, which was very hard to find music on because you were sort of on the Napster LimeWire type thing where you had to download stuff to listen to it online. YouTube wasn't really a thing yet. But whatever it recommended, I kind of got a hold of until my buddy from 8th grade later on in middle school was like, "Have you ever listened to, like, you like Blink-182? You like Sum 41? Have you ever listened to metal?" And I was like, "Nah." And so he was like, "Listen to this." He gave me a CD that had Rob Zombie, Disturbed, Mudvayne, stuff like that on it. And I was like, I really, really like this. And so started getting into the heavy metal from there. We later found Children of Bodom, and that was like both our favorite band from like the beginning of high school to the end of high school. And just kind of like use the internet and other places to just start being like, yeah, there's music out there that's really, really good that they don't play on the radio, and kind of grew everything from there. And at a point, I went to start seeing shows around here at the Hideaway that I think I might have mentioned earlier that Nate actually came to record at. It was one of the places I started watching shows. And every time I would watch a show there, I'd be like, man, that looks so fun to get up there on stage and like scream at people through a microphone and stuff like that. And until eventually I decided I was going to try out for a band in about college. And I kind of taught myself to scream, tried out for a deathcore band, and ended up making the cut like right away. And whenever they disbanded finally, I found Altergrave, and I played with them for about 7 years. And then I found Paradoxum after that, and I played with them for a couple years until that fell through. But I don't know, I've always just really enjoyed, ever since I found it, like the loud music and the tasty guitar riffs and the screaming in the microphone, all that kind of stuff. And it's one of those things that's like kind of like video games. I probably like it a little too much, but it's just one of the things that kind of keeps me happy from day to day, you know?
Yeah, music to me, it's actually quite funny because in terms of like my sort of experiences with like music and stuff, I ended up getting into music and stuff. Well, it's more I didn't sort of I had more of like an awakening when it came to music. I didn't realize I loved music as much as I did and stuff till probably about 2018, like when I was around sort of like 16 or so, like 15 and stuff. Going into the final years of what would be sort of middle school and stuff, like sort of in American terms. Like I for years and stuff, I would like listen to game soundtracks and all that, and you sort of you remember all the words and stuff like that, and you really like the sort of music and stuff. But I never really sort of realised, oh, I like this stuff, and I really like a lot of this other stuff coming out. I'm loving all these FIFA soundtracks and all that. And so why don't I explore sort of more and stuff of this sort of interest I have? Because I just had this sort of thing in my head of, oh, I didn't get into music when I was like 6, so I'm just not a music person, so it's just not for me. Like, not realising that doesn't really matter, and actually you are. I didn't even realise how much I was into like music as I sort of was. But from like 2018 onwards, I started to really sort of dive in. I was always into sort of like rock, alternative, sort of indie rock, indie pop, quite a bit of pop as well. When pop music is good pop music. I started sort of getting into that. I also, because the sort of friends I had at the time and stuff, they introduced me a lot to a lot of these sort of pop punk bands and stuff like that were around sort of the more sort of late to mid 2000s and stuff. So I found out about bands like Panic at the Disco, My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, Blink 182 and stuff like that off the back of that as well. Sum 41, another one as well. And it opened up sort of a new world sort of there for me. I was like, wow, like a lot of this music's quite good, or even if I'm not into it, I still appreciate it. I still want to know where these sort of bands and stuff like that will develop now, sort of at this point and all that. And just from there, like just I've now like started vinyl collecting and stuff, something I never thought I'd do, but now I love it and stuff. I listen to like loads of music. Like I looked at my because I'm not a Spotify user, I'm an Apple Music user, which basically means that I am a terrible person. But no, so
nah.
I saw Apple Music, they do their own sort of Wrapped, sort of like version of Wrapped, and I was seeing and stuff like how many hours and how many plays I'd had of stuff, and comparing that to like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, it's like, wow, I listen to so much music, but I'm so happy about it and stuff because it's opened up this whole world to me where I'm like, this is so amazing and stuff. I wish I got into all this earlier. So now I've got past my rambling about me talking about so much music and stuff. I like to talk about music whenever I get the chance and stuff.
That's another thing I can do a podcast on for like 4 hours is music or video games, either one.
Oh, don't even. That'll be my next idea and stuff. It'll be the I'm trying to. Let's see if I can think of a funny name in time. No, I can't. Funny name podcast here for music. There we go. Billy Joel is secretly my dad. The podcast. I don't know. So yeah. Speaking of music and stuff like that, you were saying about you've had some experiences and stuff being in like bands and all that. Do you have any interesting stories of times where you've been performing and maybe things have not gone as well, or you've had really good performances that you like stick out to you? What's been in your experiences with like performance on stage?
To be honest, I've been pretty lucky since I started playing in bands. Nothing's really gone catastrophically wrong or anything. There was definitely a song at one point we played at the Hideaway where my guitarist broke a string like halfway through. Ooh. And I was like, why did song sounds weird right now? And then he's like, I broke a string halfway through. And I was like, that explains that. I was like, that's why all the low end dropped out of it. You broke the grease. But to be honest, like, let's see, really playing shows, my best story is probably just the way that I kind of go about playing shows, which is I'm an introverted person. You would think that I would have stage fright and not want to get on stage in front of a bunch of people. And so what I basically do is I kind of play a character whenever I'm on stage. I try not to play that character whenever I do reactions or like I'm on a podcast like this because I try to be real with everybody, But once I go on stage, I try to get kind of more pumped than I would nervous. And whenever I hit the stage and I grab the microphone and the first song kicks in, I'm just, what's up, everyone? Like, and I'm just like, we are this band. Let's go. And like, from there, I'm just into the lyrics and stuff, and I just don't think about it. Like, I don't think about the fact that I'm on stage. I just kind of destroy the music, I don't know. It's just like, it's been a really fun time doing stage shows and such. And it kind of all blends together at a point because I've done so many of them, and I just kind of become that second person when I'm up there. And some of the best memories are honestly like leaving the stage and just having people talk to me afterwards and be like, dude, like, you were really good and stuff like that. And I'm just, oh, thank you. Back in my introverted character, like my regular self, like, oh, thank you so much. Like, and they're just like, it's like, dude, you're really quiet off stage. I'm surprised you scream on stage. I'm like, yep, that's how it goes. Like, I'm a quiet person. I scream in a microphone for fun. So
it'd be really funny if you spoke to him in that very metal voice. Like, that was just your normal voice. You'd be like, hello.
Let's go.
Can I have a Monster Punch juice?
I've practiced for a very long time. Sound like I am demons emerging from hell. I hope you enjoy.
Yes, I can have my hair appointment at 6 o'clock.
So you just start talking to everyone in that voice all the time.
Hi,
welcome to McDonald's. How can we help you? Double quarter pounder with cheese, please. Sounds delicious.
I love if you ask for like the most kiddie items as well, like, can I have a Happy Meal? No toy.
Make sure I get the Hot Wheels toy, please.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Or the Pokemon toy. I'm trying to collect them all. Gotta catch them all. Or whatever they say.
I would love to do that as a joke, but I know that I would bottle it. And stuff. I'd love to do that as a prank, but I know I'd bottle it at the last minute. Oh that would be so funny though. That, to be honest, and stuff is the main questions and stuff for this podcast and stuff. But with every episode and stuff, I like to have one more big and stuff like finale question, a bit more of a philosophical question, like sort of so to speak. So the final question I'd like to ask yourself is, if you had to sort of give one piece of advice and stuff, like you had a person in front of you, if you had to give them one piece of advice, the most important sort of piece of advice you could give them, sort of what would that be?
The hands down most important piece of advice you can get in terms of anything is not to give up. So if you decide that you'd like to try your hand at a YouTube channel and you upload videos for a couple months and you're not getting the response that you think you're going to get, and you quit, that's the end. Like, you just gave up and you just quit, and obviously you're never going to get anywhere with it. If you want something to succeed, you cannot let it not going where you expect it to go and the first bits of you trying get to you. You have to keep going. Once you decide you're going to do something like a YouTube channel or a band or whatever, just stick with it. Like, keep going. Like, if you've done it for years and years and years and years, and you just really feel like you're tired of doing it, that's one thing. But stick with it in the early game. Like, don't quit too early because you feel like it's not going as fast as you hoped it would. That's like my number one piece of advice, is just stick with stuff, man. Like, don't give up. Persistence is key to almost anything you want to do.
Yeah, that, to be honest, is a fantastic piece of advice and stuff. It's definitely something that I try myself and stuff to sort of go with, especially for sort of, I've had a lot of projects and stuff fall apart and stuff like that, and sort of in the past and stuff, I was a bit more like, oh, I know it ain't going to do this, do that, why don't I just quit and stuff? And I've had this podcast idea for like years and stuff, and this year I just went, I'm going to do it. And I'm just going to keep going, and yeah, it might run into roadblocks, but I'm going to keep going because I'm passionate about this and stuff. I have the opportunity, I have the resource, I've already got all the recording equipment, why don't I just go for it? And fortunately and stuff, this is now and stuff like a podcast that I've had, quite a few episodes now and stuff like that, like including this one and stuff, and I'm so fortunate and stuff where it is and stuff. I've been able to interview fantastic people like yourself, like Nate, and stuff like Chad and stuff, some fantastic episodes, and I'm very happy and stuff where the podcast is and stuff. And yeah, I'm all out of questions, unfortunately. I'd love to be able to keep chatting, but all great things have got to come to an end. And in the case
man, just take it episode by episode with the podcast, man. Just keep at it, man. Like if you miss one month, just be like, I'm picking it up next month. Don't let it fall through.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know what I mean? You've got to have that sort of
or week, however often you do it. You know, just stick with it. Stick with it.
This will be released in 2035. It's all right. That's how often. It's every 15 years.
As long as it gets out there at some point.
So yeah, like I said, unfortunately, all good things have got to come to an end and stuff, and that is the end of the podcast. Thank you and stuff for coming on the podcast and stuff. It's a massive pleasure, and
no problem,
thank you guys, for watching and stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Go check out the Renegade Media Group YouTube channel and stuff. Check out the amazing reactions that the guy above me and stuff, Nate and stuff like that. Go check out Chad's channel as well. We've mentioned him and stuff like that. Fantastic guy and stuff. Go check out all the socials. Do what you got to do. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. See you guys next time. Peace.
Oh, and thank you, brother.